Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week I'm going to do a deep dive into the Obi-Wan Kenobi teaser trailer from Disney Plus Day. Before we get started, I'm inviting you to join the conversation with us. We can be found on Twitter at Force Ghost Pod, and you can follow our page on Facebook. We look forward to connecting with you on those platforms. Also, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your listening site of choice. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost conversations. All right, everyone, we are back. And as I alluded in the preamble, this episode will be finally my discussion on the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus Day teaser trailer. I've been teasing it for the last couple of weeks on the show, and it's only a minute long, and I'm going to guarantee you we're going to get a full-length episode of Force Ghost Conversations out of that little teaser. So we're going to milk it for all of its worth, and there's a lot to discuss here. So I'm very excited to get into all of that. But first and foremost, I just wanted to thank everybody for listening to Force Ghost Conversations thus far. We have gotten so much outpouring of love and support from our fans. We've gotten new fans over the past couple of weeks. And people have been reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts, giving us a rate. We've been getting a lot of engagement on our social media channels, especially Twitter. And it does not go unnoticed. And we are very thankful here. And it's just really inspiring to us to keep motivating us for future content, shows, ways to engage with the community. It's really inspiring. So from the bottom of my heart and from all of us here at Force Ghost Conversations, thank you. With that said, let's get into our news portion of this show, which I've affectionately called Cloud City Gossip. And we have a little bit of Star Wars news this week. Of course, we're getting into the holiday season. So there isn't a whole lot coming out at this point, and especially with the Book of Boba Fett coming out at the end of the month, there is a little no man's land, so to speak, and a little bit of the news here. But we have been able to sparse out or piece out a few of the important news bits that have come out this past week for you all, just to keep you up to date with all things that are happening in a galaxy far away. So first and foremost, the cinematic trailer for the all-new Star Wars video game, Star Wars Eclipse, was released this past week at the Game Awards. The game will be set during the High Republic and features an array of impressive visuals. Now, we would be remiss, though, if we did not acknowledge the controversy surrounding the developing game studio Quantic Dream. And we here at Force Ghost Conversations believe in a safe Star Wars community for all fans. Therefore, unless certain progress is made on this front, we will only cover the news surrounding this game and will not purchase or play it. Next, Variety is reporting that Amandla Stenberg has been cast in the upcoming Disney Plus series, The Acolyte. We have few details about this project, but know that it is set during the end of the High Republic era. Stenberg is most known for her work in the Hunger Games franchise. And again, also, please note that Lucasfilm has not confirmed this casting yet, so please take this news with a healthy grain of salt. However, Variety is a reputable Hollywood trade publication, and as a result, we trust their offering here until we have reason to believe otherwise. And then finally, this week, Bring Home the Bounty, that series, weekly series that Lucasfilm has been doing over the past couple of weeks, unveiling new toys, what have you, heading into the holiday season, has unveiled a slew of new toys, especially in anticipation of the upcoming Book of Boba Fett series. And these toys include new Funko Pops, Black Series action figures, a Boba Fett plush toy or doll, what have you, by Mattel, Boba Fett sunglasses, and as well as a neat replica of the Yoden fountain statue that can be found at Lucasfilm's headquarters in San Francisco in honor of the studio's 50th anniversary. And of course, links to all of these toys can be found on StarWars.com. So check that out for if for the Star Wars fan in your family or your friends, what have you. The holiday season is fast approaching, so get on that if you want to, get a nice gift for somebody that it might be a Star Wars fan in your neck of the woods. Anywho, let's hop on to our main topic for the show today, which is, of course, the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus Day teaser. And of course, this uh, teaser was a part of the grand Disney Plus Day festivities, which was essentially a long Twitter thread on the Disney Plus Twitter account. And the Kenobi teaser that we'll be discussing, it can only be found on Disney Plus. So if you want to watch it for yourself, you must be a subscriber to Disney Plus, but you might as well be a subscriber to Disney Plus anyways, because there's so much Star Wars content that can be only found available on Disney Plus itself, such as Season 7 of the Clone Wars, the Bad Batch, The Mandalorian, without saying, and all the movies, of course. Just go be a Disney Plus subscriber if you want to stay up to date with everything that is Star Wars. So just some initial thoughts right up at the front here. I thought that this teaser lived up to the title. It's only a minute long, right? So you're only going to get a little bit out of it here, but it really does tease so much for the upcoming show. And, as a prequelist, a prequel fan, this was my most anticipated first look that, I was expecting going into the Disney Plus Day. So I, as a fan, I'm very excited to talk about this. And I hope that you all are excited at home as well. I mean, come on, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's one of the most pivotal characters in all of Star Wars. His role in the prequel series, his role as the mentor in the original trilogy, and he knows his the seeds of Obi-Wan that are still spewed throughout the sequel trilogy as well. The themes that Obi-Wan presents about the Force and what it means to be a Jedi are still within, I would argue, the teachings that Rey undergoes in The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. And before I dive into the teaser trailer itself with my thoughts and reactions, I did want to pose the question, why does a series get me so excited? I mean, why does the fact that I know that both Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen will both be reprising their roles in the Star Wars saga mean so much to me? And I wanted to ponder this question a lot here, just to dive into the get deep into the topic itself here, just to start. Honestly, I think the answer lies in the fact that it really does vindicate the importance of the prequels and their necessity in understanding the Star Wars saga. I mean, if I can be honest with you all here, I was bullied a lot as a kid for liking the prequels so much in the early and the mid 2000s. It was not a safe place to be a Star Wars fan and to be open and honest and unapologetic about your love of those movies. I mean, for a while there, I would define myself as a Star Wars sagaist because, that didn't necessarily mean that I only liked the prequels themselves, but it meant I enjoyed and appreciated their and understood what they meant for the overall Star Wars saga and the journey that these characters undertake. I mean, if you look at it from a 1 to 6 story viewpoint, it's really the story of Anakin Skywalker and his rise, fall, and redemption over the course of those movies. And that changes slightly when you add episodes 7, 8, and 9, but it's really about when you add that, it's about his rise, fall, redemption, and legacy. So it all the themes still stay in place to me here, but as seeing this, it just really makes me so excited that now people are coming out as being fans for this, and it's the fervor for the show is just so exciting to see. I mean, the people standing up and saying yes, the prequels are great. They have wonderful storytelling aspects to them. There's so much to take away from it in terms of themes and what it means for us as humans that we can take away from these space fantasy operatic storytelling that George Lucas presented to us. It's just very exciting, and I want to really take a moment there to just reflect on that. I mean, come on now. It just brings me great joy to see that, these guys were willing to come back to roles that had such a prominent place within my own upbringing, and they were honestly my real life superheroes. When we first watched this teaser, once it became available, I think about 11 a.m. Eastern time on that Disney Plus day, was that November 12th or something like that. At this point, I got really emotional through it, and I got emotional watching it for in preparation for this podcast. It just brought me back to being the 8-year-old that watched Attack of the Clones 300 times over in the summer of 2003. It was a very, very fun experience just to have those feelings once again. And it is just very exciting knowing that we're going to be able to see this series come to life in 2022, which is not that far away. I mean, we're almost in it itself. We're what, at the time of this recording, about 20, maybe 20 plus 20, less than 20 days from the new year. So get excited. This is the time to get excited, and I'm gonna keep bringing this point up all the time. 2022 is gonna be the year of Star Wars. There's so much coming out in that year alone when it comes to the Book of Boba Fett's gonna take place mostly and be released in 2022. Kenobi's gonna come out. Andor is gonna come out. You're gonna get news about the upcoming movies and TV series that are gonna come out afterwards. Maybe The Mandalorian season 3 comes out in 2022. Perhaps you get more Bad Batch. I would imagine so. Based off of previous Lucasfilm animation release schedules, I would imagine probably in the summertime you'd probably get more Bad Batch, another season of that. So there's a lot to come out, but I think this is actually the most anticipated thing for myself because of that, and it's great to see everybody and the excitement that is coming to fruition with all this, and that knowing that I was not in the minority liking these movies back in the day, right? I think people have learned to come to terms with things. We aren't so critical anymore. We're able to accept things and just really celebrate the things that are really exciting about the Star Wars saga overall. But with that, let's dive into the actual meat of the trailer itself. And I'm going to talk through some of my play-by-play thoughts, which I wrote down while watching the teaser a few times in preparation for this show. And it really starts off, once I get past the initial logos and the Disney Plus thing and stuff like that, right? It starts off with the final scene of Obi-Wan dropping off Luke at the end of episode 3. And it is a scene that is really marked in my mind for several reasons. First, it is Obi-Wan's acceptance of his journey now to be a protector, a real guardian for the new hope for the galaxy. I really enjoy that it pans over to, in the movie, it pans over to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru then, who are staring off into the twin suns as the Force theme concludes the movie. It showcases their own personal journeys, both Beru and Owen, showcases their own personal heroes' journeys as well as those begin in this moment too. It just goes to show that life is about choices, and each and every day we are called upon to partake in the great adventure if we choose to hear its calling. Anyways, I'm gonna try my best to not get too stuck in the weeds at each point in this teaser. But hey, I'm human and I go off on tangents and all this stuff. So we're gonna do our best here. But then the teaser, it goes into Ewan McGregor, who then says the fans have been waiting long enough, and couldn't wholeheartedly agree with that anymore. I know we've had this trailer, or not a trailer, but the idea of an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie since maybe 2016 or so. I know there's been rumors in the past about who might be directing it, who's involved in the process. And then when we finally got the announcement that it's going to be a series on Disney Plus, I couldn't be more excited. I want more time with this character. I want to dive deep into what it means to be a hermit on this desert planet with purpose. I really want to get into the mindset of Kenobi during this time period and what keeps him motivated to stay true to his task. So then it leads to some concept art of an older Kenobi, and certainly the sands and heat of Tatooine will take their toll. At the point of when the show is supposed to take place, it is midway between Revenge of the Sith Episode 3 and A New Hope Episode 4. And at this point, visually speaking, Kenobi looks rather different If you were to compare and contrast between episode 3 and episode 4, he looks rather different. And it's really nice to see the transition take place through the concept art. And I'm very excited to see what the makeup team does in order to like age up Ewan a bit, or maybe he is naturally what they would expect him to look like in this time period. I know it's been 20 years since those prequel films came out, and we're allowed to grow and change as people in those time periods. So it only makes sense that Obi-Wan will also age as well to reflect real life in the Star Wars saga. Then it moves to Deborah Chow, who's the overall director and showrunner for the series, who notes that it is a dark time for the Jedi, showing concept art of stormtroopers in some sort of base. And it's like it's not a safe time for the Jedi. It is not a safe time at all for the Jedi. They're being hunted down. Those that survived Order 66 are continually to be hunted down. It's not safe to even showcase that you have any force wielding abilities, because you possess a threat to the Empire. You being a Jedi alone have and within you the ability to possess that hope for the galaxy that was taken away, that Emperor Palpatine does not want to return in any semblance, shape, or form. And it's just interesting that being a Jedi is one thing, but also being Obi-Wan Kenobi is another thing in its own right. And we're going to get into that a little bit later here, because Vader comes into the series, and I have some thoughts about that. But I hope that we're able to see some of the precautions that Kenobi had to employ in order to stay hidden for so long. I don't think it was an easy overnight transition for him, and he had to be looking at every corner, every turn, being prepared for every eventuality possible in order to stay true to the mission that he had set forth for himself. And of course, then we get the concept art of an Inquisitor. And for those that may not be aware, Inquisitors have been around in canon for some time now, going back to the animated series Star Wars Rebels. Essentially, they are Jedi hunters. And Vader, of course, can't be everywhere in the galaxy. And he's not going to waste his time with every single report that someone is a Force user in the galaxy. In terms of a logistical standpoint, I think it's smart that the Empire has them in place. But overall for the series, I also think that it is smart and appropriate that they are involved, and it is a nice canon connection. And I hope that if you're inspired by this series and you want to know more about them, that you'll check out their roles in Star Wars Rebels, the Charles Soule Vader comic series, and so on and so forth. They're a very interesting band of dark side users. So then after that, they note that Kenobi's first directive is, of course, protecting Luke. Deborah Chow then says the interesting thing is where it goes from there. And if I can speculate a little responsibly here, I would imagine that it means Kenobi is leaving Tatooine at some point in the series. Perhaps he is caught by an Inquisitor and needs to be seen elsewhere in order to distract them from potentially finding Luke. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see where he may go as a result, if he indeed does have to leave the planet, which I'm speculating entirely for. And then we get back to the Vader breathing sound, and Ewan speaks pretty candidly about how beautiful it is that the series brought back him together with Hayden, who of course plays Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker. Deborah Chow then says they couldn't tell the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi without addressing Anakin or Vader. I couldn't agree more. Their stories are intertwined. I imagine that Kenobi was probably target number one for Vader. It was most likely an obsession for him, as he was like, I would imagine if I were Vader, I would probably have directed all of my hate and anger into him. You need to have, he probably scapegoated him for causing all the problems that Anakin felt at the end of episode 3, putting him in the suit, losing Padme, being a shell of his former self. I think it may give some credence to the line in episode 6 that Vader eventually says to Luke in regards to his potential return to the light, where he says, Obi-Wan once thought as you do. Maybe we'll see that come to pass in some way, shape, or form. Perhaps Obi-Wan may try to reach his lost Padawan again one last time. I don't know. The thought is certainly enticing to me, and I hope to see that it is explored at some point. But while that's being talked about, I got very excited and giddy about the fact that we saw some concept art of Vader in his castle once more. And if you saw Rogue One, a Star Wars story, that's where we're first introduced to it, and we've seen it a bit more explored on how it came to be in the Charles Soule Darth Vader comic series, which I cannot highly recommend enough. It is one of the best things that have come out in Star Wars, I would argue, in the Disney era. I hope that we get to see that location once more. I hope it's just not a tease in the concept art. I hope it comes out to pass and comes out to be. Give me more in the Vader castle. I just love the concept of it overall and what it does for the Star Wars mythology overall. Heyo, let's see more of it. And of course, they're just not going to have a conversation together. I don't think they teased the potential showdown again between Kenobi and Vader, which almost, in my mind, it isn't a potential. It's going to happen. I would love to see a round 2 between them. Vader, I wanted to find. I know in the post Last Jedi era, people really were calling Kylo Ren Unchained. Once Emperor, not Emperor Snoke, but Supreme Leader Snoke is out of the way, and he's theoretically taken over the First Order. People referred to Kylo Ren as being unchained at that point, but I think at this point, Vader is certainly going to be unchained, and it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. You talk about a true purpose, he wants to let out all that hate, anger, frustration, everything that was pumped up within him over the last 9-10 years. He's going to let it all out. He's going to let it all out on that battlefield. And just to think about the possibility of how the great the action sequences is. I know in the teaser they highlight the behind the scenes kind of work that Ewan was doing in prepping for his for this lightsaber action that's going to take place in the series. And they got, I would imagine they have to live up to some of the hype and height of the of what they did in the prequel movies, especially all the great martial arts work that they employed in that. They're not gonna skimp on us anywhere there. So I'm very excited to see what comes to be in terms of what this fight and overall what it means for the story. I think the Anakin Obi-Wan fight in Episode 3 is probably some of the most juicy stuff in terms of mythology, because they not only fight, but they also have a conversation with each other, and it's some deep intellectual thoughts with each other. We might have to do a deep dive discussion into that one of these days in the coming weeks of this podcast. But there's a lot to break down on all that. So I think that is going to be a lot overall of what the story is going to lead to. That's probably going to be the climax, I would imagine, of the series. So imagine, I think it's a 4-episode series or so. So maybe episode 4 is what you can expect to have that little maybe it's not little, maybe it's a long drawn out affair battle. I would love to see it. Finally, the teaser ends with the Obi-Wan Kenobi title card and the announcement that it'll be coming in 2022, just a few short weeks away, but who knows when it's actually going to come out in the year itself overall. Just for some final thoughts on the teaser overall, I do like that it gives us just enough to get super excited for the show while giving us literally the absolute minimum in regards to story details, cast, plot, etc. If I were to guess, maybe a full story trailer will come out sometime in 2022, perhaps closer to when the series premieres, maybe a month or so out. The Book of Boba Fett followed a similar model, so I would imagine that they'll do the same thing. But overall, I think the teaser does exactly what it set out to do. It satiates the fans' appetite. It leaves behind some nuggets for discussion, like we basically did on this podcast here. I told you we'd get a full episode out of this. And it reminds us that the series will be coming out soon, so just be patient. Patience is a virtue in this matter. Just be patient. We've waited so long for this, we can wait a little longer. Let them develop the story they want it to be. Let them work out the visual effects of it all. Just be excited for it. I think it was probably a smart marketing-wise not to show too much. It might have detracted from the Book of Boba Fett slightly, which is the main marketing push for Lucasfilm at this point, as it comes out as a series later this month. So they don't want to overbear us with so much at some point. It's also the Disney Plus day overall. They didn't want to get lost in the weeds of all the other announcements that were happening. Marvel was just about to do a full-on big 11-minute announcement later on. Pixar just did a quick 5-minute snippet of the things that are coming out. The Twitter thread was still running of things that are anticipated releases that are coming to the platform over the course of the next couple of years. They just did absolutely what they needed to do. They did what they set out to do, and I think they achieved it. I think there's a lot to discuss. Clearly, I think there's a lot to discuss in this trailer, and this even if you want to call it a trailer, I think it's definitely a teaser. It teases you. So that's basically all of my thoughts for the Kenobi teaser. It got me super emotional again watching it. I'm very excited to see what it means for the Star Wars story and the mythology, and I can't wait to dive deep into each episode when they come out. It's I hope you stay along for the ride. Force Ghost Conversations is going to be there every step of the way for all this stuff. So I'm happy to give all my thoughts about it. So those are my thoughts about the teaser. What did you think at home about it? I would love to get your thoughts via our social media channels. So be sure to follow us wherever you can. We're available on Twitter, of course, at Force Ghost Pod. We're available on Facebook, so follow our page there if you have that social media platform. We're looking to expand to other social media platforms too, so be on the lookout for when those are released as well. So that will be coming in the very near future. And of course, follow us on wherever you get your podcast platform of choice. I know we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Pretty much if there's a place where you can get a podcast nowadays, we're going to be available there. And if there's a place where we're not available, let us know, and I will do my absolute best to get us on there one way, shape, or form. But that is all I had for this episode. I thank you all again for coming on this wonderful journey with us here. I have been teasing this episode for quite some time, and I'm glad that I was able to milk out a full long episode of Force Ghost Conversations about this 1 minute teaser trailer. That is the joy of Star Wars at the end of the day. The fact that we're able to talk about something that just means so much to us and is so impactful that even a minute of this wonderful saga that is pretty much just people talking behind the scenes about things that are cool to them and what they're most excited about for the upcoming series, with some concept art in the background. There's just so much to dive into, discuss, pick apart, and speculate responsibly as fans. So I hope that you're able to do the same. Again, if you want to check it out yourself, make sure that you have a Disney Plus account, which you can probably get very regularly nowadays. Just sign up for a month or so if you really want to. But again, there's so much coming down the pipeline for Star Wars that you're probably going to want to stay in the know one way, shape, or form. But that's all that we had for this week on Force Ghost Conversations. Thank you all again for listening. I look forward to connecting with you on our social media platforms, and I hope that you have a great week. Take care, everyone. May the Force be with you.